this is it. There's a 2-hour season finale. This is it, right? You know, this is it. We're done after this, I guess.
I'm always the one that has that kind of really zesty energy constantly. And so I look back and I just, all I can think of is the laughter. We've had a lot of laughter, and it's just such a family environment. And it's been this huge thing. I mean, for everybody else that's been here, it's 10 years, me, it's 7. I mean, we've had kids grow up, and I mean, so much has happened. And I just think, when I look back on it, I just think a lot of laughs, a lot of fun.
Well, for me, it's very important that after 10 years of being here, that we wrap up Clark Kent. From day one, it's always been about who this character has been before he becomes Superman. And I think that that's still a very true statement for the show. And I think it's a theme that I hope to accomplish.
Season 8, every season that I've been involved in, 8, 9, and 10, have been very different, both for me as an actor and also for the character, I think. Season 8 was a lot about not stepping on any toes with regards to Lex, coming in and knowing that I wasn't replacing him, but rather trying to fill a little bit of a void that he left, but also kind of figuring out who I am. And I think halfway through Season 8, my character took a big shift when I actually kind of gave him the straight arm and said that he was no longer an ally of mine. So that was the big shift for Tess.
I think for me, the one scene and the one moment are sort of the same, and it would be Christopher Reeve, working with him, being able to go to New York and working with him for the day. I mean, it was just such an inspiration, and it was such a fantastic scene, and even for the show, it was a big moment for Clark that really set him up for the rest of the series. And to be able to experience that was very special.
You know, the moment that really pushed Lex over the edge, that was, I guess, for me, it was pretty intense, was when he killed his father, when he pushes him out the window 100 stories up to his death, and then he realizes the realization of what he had done. And that's just like, there's no going back. There's no looking back. That part of you is always there. He kind of ripped the rear view mirror off after that and never looked back.
I have a lot of favorite Tess scenes and moments from the last 3 years. And the first one that comes to mind is being a zombie, because I have no idea when that's going to happen again, you know, being a zombie. I also loved that I got to be a zombie with Erica and Tom, because that was something we got to share together. All the fighting that I did was really cool. I learned a lot, both physically and in terms of like fight choreography, and also how to work with a camera and fighting, which I think is a skill. You know, that's like a skill set that you get to learn, and I'm very thankful for that.
I laughed, actually, because I'll leave it to Michael to wait till the last few days, and then everybody finds out that he's coming back and we didn't know, and it's so him, and it's so spontaneous, and that just is the way he is. And true to form, I was doing a very intense scene yesterday, and out of the corner of my eye, I saw, like, I thought it was background. I was like, there's no background in this scene. What's going on? And it took me half a second. I was like, Michael Rosenbaum, and boom, he was right in there and giving everybody hugs, and that was his way of returning to us. And I think that, you know, of course, the fans love it, and it's the way it should be. He's Lex Luthor, so I think it's a great way to end the show.
I heard that Michael Rosenbaum was returning to the show from Krypton site, and I read it online, and I was like, what? And then I thought maybe they were pulling another joke on me, like they did at April Fool's Day 2 years ago. But then I figured out that it was true. And it's funny because I hadn't met Michael before yesterday. And as soon as I read that, this weird wave of relief came over me. It was like something that I know so many people wanted was going to happen. And a sigh of relief happened. And I think I hoped and I prayed that I would be able to have a scene with him and to work with him. It wouldn't really feel right if I didn't. So I'm glad that I am, and I'm really excited to shoot it.
He shows up today, and it's like he never left. And we just fell right back into having fun and having a great time. And I realized how much I think I've missed him, and how fantastic it is to see him again and be able to work with him. And that's been a lot of fun.
I honestly was scared. I was scared. They gave me of course, typical. They give me, you know, all these monologues, and in between the monologues, Clark will say, "Lex, but why?" I'm like, give me more time to think of what I'm going to say. And you know, it was a challenge. It was a challenge because there's a lot of lines. The whole crew, it's back. Here he is. Go ahead. You haven't done it for 3 years, and then you just do it. Somehow it worked. I don't know. I think you know, it kicked in. I miss the crew. It's good to be back here. It really is. For one day that I am back here.
With Lex Luthor being back, I think that there's no better way for Clark to transform into Superman without Lex being part of it. There is no Superman without Lex. That's for sure.
Why did I come back? It's very easy. The fans, the crew, the show. The show needed the villain. I'm the villain, okay? The show is always about Lex and Clark. Period. That's the reality, right, guys? Come on.
Well, I would say that if this series was about one thing, it would be identity and Clark's search for who he is. And along the journey, he's had to deal with two fathers, one being from another planet who's not necessarily alive, and the other who's very much alive, who has a very strong moral center. And even though Jonathan had passed a few seasons ago, he's still very much a part of Clark's everyday life, where Jor-El is sometimes distant, sometimes cold, sometimes more scientific. And it's those two balances, I think, that where Clark's had to deal with who he is. Is he more like Jor-El? Is he more like Jonathan? And I think what we find out toward the end is that Clark has to figure out that he's who he is himself, and that he doesn't have to be anyone else. And it's finding that within himself, which I think will help him move on to being who we all know he's going to be.
I think it's important that Clark understands that I just won't change, that some people can't change. And I have to realize that same thing with Clark. He hid it for his own reasons. He didn't hide it, his gift from me because to be deceitful. He did it for his own reasons, his own personal reasons to protect himself. But I don't see it that way. And I'll never see it that way. So you finally come to terms with it that this guy's never going to change. We can never be friends. We can never have what we had. It's kind of like a relationship, right? You date a girl and it's like, oh, we had so many wonderful moments. No, I can't stand you. Even looking at you, I'm very unattracted to you. Not you, but just, figuratively speaking.
I think that the character of Tess Mercer is a really important one and has grown to become a really important one because I feel like it represents a little bit of the human nature of people that watch something as iconic as Superman. It's really easy to put a lot of these characters into groups of good and evil and hero and villain. And I think that she was that character that a lot of people identified with, even though they may not have wanted to like her at the beginning, because she is human and because she changes her mind and because she does things that are fueled by her passions instead of by her destiny.
This year specifically, it's about showing support and being someone that is strong for him and encouraging him and telling him the things that maybe he doesn't want to hear. As an active, practical thing, she, in this latter part of this season, I've been working on what is his identity going to be and how is he going to showcase these two different identities. What is he going to use? And he comes up with those ideas himself, but she's there to support it and give ideas and then help him formulate after he's come up with his idea about the shift between Clark Kent and the Blur. Then she's there to kind of help him do that, and she just jumps right into there. And so that's what they're discovering here at the end of this season.
The Clark and Lois relationship is a complicated one. And not only does Clark have to juggle a lot for himself, but Lois has a lot to deal with as being the other side of the relationship. They find a version of balance as the series comes to an end. I think it's a very good balance that'll last them a long time, but it's not a simple one, and I think it's exciting.
Where would I like to see Clark and Lois at the end of the season? I kind of don't want to know. It's one of those strange things because knowing that means it's over. And Lois has loved the whole process. It's been such a fun relationship to play. But I suppose from Lois's point of view, I think for her to finally find someone that she can rest in and know that it's okay. She's home. I know what the fans would like to see with Clark and Lois. I suppose they want to see him in blue tights flying around and Lois being rescued from some wonderful thing or dangerous thing. And but I mean, more seriously, of course, the culmination of him truly, grasping his destiny and becoming Superman. And she is the Lois Lane of the of the comics, and she is that reporter, and yet she's there, that strength for him.
If I could take any piece of set as a keepsake, I feel like it has to be a part of my world, because I feel like that's only fair. And I don't even know if it's possible or what it's made out of, but that L in the stained glass of the Luthor Corp wall, that L, just the little L, I would hang that in my home forever if I had that.
I thought about what I could kind of take home with me if I could from the set, and I've been thinking, where did I spend most of my time? And it was in the Daily Planet, and something really small but actually very poignant to me would be to take my name tag. So I think that's might be something I ask for.
10 years has been fantastic, surrounded by really great people who care and work really hard, a lot of dedication. 3 things that I think you need in order to survive this long, now that we've done it. And I think those are key elements to why we're still here. The 4th element would be the fans, because if they weren't watching, we wouldn't have lasted even a year.
Thank you. It has been a wonderful moment of self-discovery, and I just thank them very much. They've allowed me to live with Lois, and enjoy it. So thank you.
If I had to have a chance to talk to my fans, you've heard of Twitter, right? We talk, right, guys? We totally talk. If I had something to say to the fans, it would be thanks for, watching us, making us a success, and please, I came back for you. I'm here. So just whatever I do, however good or bad, tune in.
It is bittersweet to say goodbye to Smallville. I think 10 years is an incredible amount of time for a show to be on the air, and everyone's, so thankful for it, but also ready to see what comes next for them in their life. For me, it's only been 3 years, so it's shorter, but it is bittersweet, and I think all of us are so focused on doing the end and finishing it right, and also the next step after that. I think there's going to be a time, and it's already started to hit me, and I think Erica as well, we were talking about this, that big change is coming, and it's emotional, but it's good.
I just think it was a great experience. It was an experience, that's for sure. I mean, being on a hit TV show, we're very fortunate. Most shows don't last a pilot or maybe a season, 2 seasons, if you're lucky, maybe 3, but this lasted as long as you could last. And I think Saved by the Bell lasted longer.